Hey fam, happy Saturday. Hope you're having a good weekend. I decided that I want to review the show called The Boys on Amazon Prime. And most of us have Amazon Prime. And if you have Xfinity cable box, if you go into your apps, you see their site there where you can go in and check out their content. Which honestly, they don't really have a lot of good stuff on there. Maybe a couple old good movies. They have Suits, the show I love. I was able to binge watch it all on there. And this new one. So they are definitely stepping in the right direction to get some really good content going, and they have hit it out of the park with this show, The Boys. Now this show, the premise behind it, basically we have superheroes who are as popular, they're of course as popular as celebrities and athletes and singers and rappers and influential politicians. And basically they turn rogue and use their powers in an abusive way, pitting the powerless against the powerful, basically. And what you honestly see here is they sort of have bootleg heroes, if you will, of the Marvel characters. And okay, let me get into the cast real quick because let me just get started. Okay, so we have Jack Quaid, and he plays Huey Campbell. He is from the movies The Hunger Games and The Hunger Games Catching Fire, and the movie Just Before I Go, and Rampage. He is the son of Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid. I didn't know they had a son or that he was this old, but he looks like a mixture of the two of them, and he is equally as talented as an actor. Okay, then we have Jesse Usher, and he plays A-Train on the show, and he is from Survivor's Remorse, the show, Independence Day, the 2016 version, and Almost Christmas, and Shaft, the one that came out in 2019. All right, then we have Carl Urban, and he is played by Carl Urban plays Billy Butcher, and he's from Thor Ragnarok, and he's also from The Bourne Supremacy and The Chronicles of Riddick. And then we have Erin Moriarty. She plays the superhero Starlight, but her regular everyday name is Annie January, and she's from Jessica Jones and The Miracle Season. And then we have Elizabeth Shue, and she plays Madeline Stillwell. If you don't know who she is, you know, she's a little older. She's from Cocktail. Google her. She's an excellent actress. So like I said, we have these superheroes that are sort of gone rogue. And the show begins with two boys that are walking down the street. They look to be young teenagers. And while they're walking and talking, they hear a truck, you know, coming kind of crazy down the street. They turn around. It's an armored truck. And it seems like the closer it gets, the more out of control it's getting. So they take off running, realizing it's about to hit them. And right at the nick of time, something that you can't see out of nowhere, right before it hits the boys, it sort of shows up right there. And through their awesome CGI direction and editing, I have got to give it up for the show because they didn't spare any cost. This is movie quality movie making here, okay? But it's a show. Anyway, okay, so it's comes out of nowhere. The truck hits this person and literally sort of wraps, you could see through the CGI this person standing here, and the truck is sort of going around that person. So they literally go through the engine, the front seat, through the back. You have to see this. I can't do it justice by describing it. And then you see the guys who are driving the truck, you know, jump out, and they're all messed up, spitting out blood. They were hurt during the accident, and one of them rushes over to one of the boys that he's now holding like he's going to use him as some kind of hostage. And at this point we see bootleg Captain America show up, and he basically, I believe he kills the guy and saves the kids, okay? So from there, we see Huey, our main character, who's not a superhero, and he works in a small electronics store. It's kind of like a little mom and pop's Radio Shack, okay? That's where he works at. And his girlfriend, Robin, comes in, and she shows up basically to take him to lunch. And she's asking, okay, she's joking with him because she wants to go have sex, okay? That's ultimately what it is. So when they leave, she's asking him if he has asked for the raise he was supposed to ask for, basically. And he's like, not now, you know, probably tomorrow. And she's like, this is when we started dating, basically. I had to ask you out because you couldn't work up the courage, basically. He is not a confident guy. You can tell that, you know, almost immediately. And he's got a girl who's, understanding, but she's pushing a little bit because she needs to. And basically, they joke about moving out because that's ultimately what they want to do, so that basically his dad doesn't hear him lay in the pipe, if you will. That's what they were joking about. Okay, so he stands on the curb at this point, and she's right in front of him. Okay, so like in that little still cemented area before the black asphalt is there. So she's right, in front of him, holding his hands, one step down from the curb. And they're playing, joking, and he's holding her hands, and out of nowhere, she's gone. Whatever came by took her, hit her so freaking fast, you're like, what the heck just happened? And then you see a very slow motion of a wind that passed so hard it's moving the skin on his face, his reaction to it, and then slowly you see blood start coming to cover his face, and they turn the camera towards where she went to, and all you see is like all this blood that's like still in the air. You see part of a spine, you can see part of her intestines. I saw a jawbone. She has been ripped to smithereens by what has run past her. And then all at once you see all the blood. It's like they stop the slow motion and boom, all the blood, smashes the ground. And you see A-Train there. He's the bootleg version of Flash. Okay, that's who he is. And he's like sort of freaked out, covered in her blood. He's the one who ran through her and did this. And he's like, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going. And he hauls ass, he's gone. And then Huey is freaked out. Like, he looks down and he is still holding his girlfriend's hands. And he's like shook, and he starts screaming, Robin, Robin. It is just freaking crazy. Okay, then they show, after the funeral, basically, he's at home with his dad, and he sees A-Train on the news, basically, sending his condolences, stating that she just stepped into the middle of the street. Huey is freaking pissed. He's like, she was one step off the curb. She was not in the middle. She was not in the middle of the street. He is absolutely right. We saw it happen. And his dad is trying to console him. From there, we see Starlight. Hell, to me, maybe she's like a Jean. I don't know what the extent of her powers are, but that is one powerful chick, okay? They show her lifting a car up. She's at home doing training, by the way. She's punching through brick walls. She has an amazing power set. They still haven't even said the extent of what she can do here. But you see her working out, and then you see her, she's being interviewed in front of a camera, and they ask her, to show her powers, and she's telling the person, I need you to step back and close your eyes. And they're like, what? And she's like, if you don't close your eyes, I will blind you. Okay? Doesn't that sound like Jean's powers from X-Men to me? Anyway, they give her a lie detector test, and they're monitoring her and asking her about her powers. And she says she always wanted to save the world, basically. She's always wanted to be in the Seven. Now, the Seven are this organization, like I said, all these superheroes are part of an organization. And the organization is man-owned, and Elizabeth Shue runs this organization, and they pay the superheroes for their services, basically. It's like a superhero union, if you will. That's literally. And the most important, the head of the organization, as far as all the superheroes goes, they are referred to as the Seven, okay? Then we see Huey. He is visited by a Vogue. I can't think of the name of their freaking organization. It's going to come to me. I wrote Vault, but I know that's not it. But anyway, this organization, employs the superheroes. He shows up there to see Huey, and he offers him a $45,000 check, basically, in restitution, stating that they don't owe them anything, but, they want to do him right, so they're offering him this money. The thing is, they want him to sign a confidentiality clause, an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, basically, telling him that if he cashes this check, he can't speak about the accident. He's, like, freaked out. Like, why would you do that? Anyway, he wishes he was strong enough basically to go off on the guy who's offered him this check, but he doesn't have the balls to basically, so he just asked to think about it overnight. Then we see Starlight gets a job offer from the VAUGHT, I think that's it, VAUGHT, the organization. They call her, they offer the job to be part of the Seven, and she is on top of the world. Her and her mom have basically worked for this, you know, all her life. And then we see Huey. He's at home, and he got like a little frantic, and he's basically, he wants to make a wrongful death suit, okay? And his dad sits him down and says, good for you. And he's like, you want to make these right for Robin, you want justice. And he's like, but you can't. And he's like, so sign this. And this fool pulls out his own damn check, okay? They didn't, I guess maybe the guy left it with him, you know, to tell his dad, you know, we're offering your son this, you know, if you're wise, have him take it. And basically he's like, this is a lot of money and we need it. And he is so taken aback by his dad's stance and all this. Then he says, even if we could afford a lawyer, and he's like, there is no case. He says, she was in the street. And his dad says, you can't do this, basically. And he's like, you don't have to fight. He's like, you never have. He's like, I'm sorry, but it's true. And he's like, neither do I. And at this point, Huey looks devastated. He looks soul crushed, if you will. I can't imagine a parent telling their child this instead of backing them. Anyway, we see Starlight. She shows up to the VAUGHT place, and there's like a huge red carpet rolled out towards her. There's tons of fans everywhere. She cannot believe that they're there for her, you know, the new signing member of the Seven, basically. And she is overwhelmed with gratitude. Then we see okay, there are over 200 VAUGHT heroes basically in their company, including the Seven, that they're running down the information about it. Then here at the introduction of Starlight, and Elizabeth Shue is the one doing this introduction, they introduced a guy called the Deep. He's the bootleg version of the Aquaman, okay? Then he himself introduces Starlight, and she comes out. And let me just go down our bootleg superheroes here, because we have A-Train, who's, like I said, is the Flash. Deep is the Aquaman. They have one called Translucent. I don't know what his version. There's somebody invisible somewhere. I just can't think of it right now. There's one called Black Noir. Hell, he looks like a G.I. Joe character to me. I don't know what he does. Then we have Queen Mauve. I think that's what they're referring to her as. She's the bootleg Wonder Woman. Then we have Homelander, who is our bootleg Captain America. Homelander. That just, it doesn't even sound right. I don't know what to say. And sad thing is, he's not as cute as Captain America. But anyway, then we see Huey enters a bodega-style corner store, basically. And he goes there to get beer. And he sees a picture of A-Train on one of the beers there. Then he turns around and he sees A-Train on a cereal. Then he's on a magazine. And he sort of freaks out, and he has a panic attack right there in the store, okay? And then we're back at the VAUGHT organization, and we see the Deep, who has led Starlight into the Seven's lair. Basically, it's where they meet at. And, or den, I don't know what we want to refer to that as. And she's, you know, really impressed, and he says she probably had a poster of Homelander on her wall, you know, when she was younger growing up. And she's like, no. She's like, seriously? He's like Jesus or something. And she's like, I actually had a poster of you. And she's like, I kind of had a schoolgirl crush on you. And she's like a little embarrassed. And she's like, I hope that's not inappropriate. And he's like, no, it's really not. And then the next thing you know, this fool has taken his pants all the way off. Underwear included, y'all. Underwear included. And let me say real quick, don't have your kids watching this show, y'all. This is rated R. They show full frontals of men, and there's some serious sex things going on in this show, okay? But anyway, I digress. Okay, so he takes his pants off, and he's literally standing there stroking himself when she turns around to look at him, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, you know, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. You said you had a crush on me. And she's like, she is so caught off guard. She was not expecting this, y'all. And she freaks out, and she goes to leave, basically, and he yells out to her, It all depends basically on how badly she wants to be part of the 7. And she's like, excuse me? And she turns around and looks at this fool, and you see her eyes light up because it's like a flash of anger. Like I said, we don't know the extent of this girl's powers. So she flashes literally on him with her eyes, and all the TV screens that are in the room crack open, the table cracks, and he's like, whoa, 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 chill out, chill out. And he's like, it's not a big deal, basically. He calms her down, and he basically tells her, I am number 2 here, okay? And if I say so, he's like, you're out of here. And he's like, especially since you attacked me. And she's like, what are you talking about? I attacked you. And he starts pointing around the room. He's basically telling her, if you don't do as I request, I'm going to tell everyone that you attacked me, and I will have you removed from this organization. And she's literally freaking out. And you can see him walking towards her, and you could see like all of her confidence sort of fleeing as he's approaching her. And he basically tells her, he's like, give me a blowjob and all your dreams will come true. And you see a tear, you know, fall out of her eye. And from there, then we see she is shook immensely as the tear falls. And then from there, we see Translucent, okay? And he is one of the superheroes, the invisible one. He's on the Jimmy Fallon show. Huey's at work watching it. And he's basically saying that he's telling how he's able to be invisible. And basically that he's made of a metal material that bends with the light, basically. And just giving, you know, how his power works. It's his skin that is made of this stuff. And like I said, Huey had watched this. Then we see Butcher enters the store that Huey works at. And he knows, he ends up telling Huey that he knows Robin was one step off the curb. And that basically he's glad that you didn't take the $45,000 check. And he says that he is FBI, and he shows his badge to him, letting him know who he is. And he explains that Supes, that's what they call the superheroes, that they make hundreds of payoffs every year. And you never hear about it, basically because they are backed by everyone from law enforcement to politicians. They're on every billboard, movie tickets, merchandise, theme parks. They're a multi-billion-dollar global industry, these superheroes in the organization that they represent. The public doesn't want to know basically about it because all they see is that they're superheroes that protect them. But it's not as easy as it looks, okay? So basically, if he tells them, if you knew half the shit that they've been up to, it's fucking diabolical. This is the word he uses, okay? That's where I come to spank the bastards when they get out of line. That's what he's telling him he's trying to do. Butcher takes Huey to a club, and he tells the doorman. The doorman thinks he's a cop. The doorman is afraid to let him in because it's a superhero club, and he's telling him, if they find out that I let you in here, they're gonna kill me. And he's like, what do you think will happen to you if you don't let me in? So of course he lets him in, and like I said, this is a superhero club. And this is crazy, y'all, crazy. Like when they first walk in, there's 2 couples that are floating on the ceiling, butt-ass naked, fucking, okay, going at it. And Huey sees this and he's like, what the hell? And he's like, pick your mouth up off the floor and try to blend in. He doesn't want them to stand out, basically. The next thing you see is there's a long table, and there's this little guy that's on the long table, and at the end of the table is a girl who's sitting with her legs up on the table, open. This little fool takes off running across the table and literally jumps into her vagina, y'all. And she's like, she's doing it, and I don't even know what to say, y'all. Then they walk further in, and there's a guy that's sitting there, basically, and Huey is like, isn't that Ezekiel? And he's like, he's from the Kids for Christian guy. Basically is partaking in multiple gay sex acts at the same time. He's the pray the gay away guy. He's a soup that has a stretchy guy like the Fantastic Four stretch guy. I don't know what the hell you call him. Anyway, he's sitting there. The guy that's next to him starts giving him a blowjob as he sits there. He stretches over, oh boy, sucking him off across the aisle over to the other side where there's two guys, and now his upper body is sitting in between the two guys over there, and he wraps his arms around them and starts giving them hand jobs while he's kissing. It's a whole mess, and this guy is a pray the gay away superhero, getting it on with it's freaking outrageous. All right, then we see Butcher takes him to the surveillance room and shows him footage of A-Train, who was at the club the night before, basically. And he's sitting there with one of his friends, and he is clowning and laughing over how he ripped right through Robin going down the street, basically, like a bug on the freeway. And Huey's like, he is freaking pissed, y'all, like irate. And from there, we see Starlight. She's coming out of one of the bathrooms at the Vought organization place, and she has like all her mascara has been cried away. She'd been throwing up. You heard her throwing up as she's leaving, you know, the stall there, and she's going to clean her face, basically. And she's traumatized. She looks extremely hurt and traumatized with the fresh smeared makeup, like I said. And let me see. Then we see Queen Moth. She's in the bathroom at the sink right next to Starlight. And she tells her, clean yourself up. Never let them see you like this. Now, I don't know what her deal is, but that's no Wonder Woman, okay? That's an evil bitch. Okay, then we see, at this point, Queen, she's like translucent. She's like, you're a damn pervert. And you see him then show himself. And he's standing fully naked. Like I said, full frontal, y'all, right here in the bathroom. This nasty perv is in the bathroom just watching and listening butt-ass naked, okay? Then we see Huey is questioning Butcher about the suits, basically. Are they all like this? He's freaked out about what he saw in the club. And he's telling him, yeah, basically all of them. And he's like, even Homelander. And Butcher's like, he says Homelander is different. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He's a saint, basically, just like Starlight had said. Like Jesus, okay? He hands him a police log for the day Robin was murdered. Okay, during that day, A-Train claimed that he was trying to stop a bank robbery that day, but there is no record of it. The log shows everything that took place that day, but there's no record of what A-Train claimed he was doing. If he wasn't chasing bank robbers, who is he running from? They're trying to figure this out, asking questions. Why couldn't he stop? What was in that bag? He was carrying a bag when he was running. Where was he running to? These are questions they're throwing back and forth, trying to figure out. He wants Huey to accept the deal from Vought, and he's like, but only accept it if A-Train apologizes in person, and to plan a bug, basically, by going in there and having that opportunity to do so. That's what he wants Huey to do. From there, we see Madeline, Elizabeth Shue's character, the head of the Vought organization, and she's meeting with the mayor of Baltimore, and she's offering him a superhero called the Nubian Prince to protect their city. All the cities need superheroes, and she peddles the superheroes to the city for protection for a crazy amount of money. Okay, so she's saying that Caucasians approve of him because the Nubian Prince is a black guy, basically. Very good looking. When you see the picture, scrumptious, y'all. Okay, basically, she says 59% of Caucasians approve of him. As if we care. Okay, she wants a 3-year exclusive contract, including PR, for $300 million a year. And he counters with $200 million, basically. And he threatens her with information about Compound V. And she says she doesn't know what he's talking about, basically. And she declines, still stating it's $300 million or nothing at all. From there, we see Starlight call her mom, and she's trying to tell her what happened to her, but she basically can't. Her mom is so happy about this new position she has and where she's at, she can't break her heart. Okay, so then we see she's on a park bench, and she's sitting next to Huey. It just happens to be there, you know, had a phone conversation. And she kind of starts crying when she gets off the phone, and he asks if she's okay. And she says it's a work thing, and asks what is his issue, because obviously he seems to be upset. And he says it's kind of a life thing. And without telling what happened, she goes in to share that she's not who she thought she was, basically. She feels really bad, ashamed, and embarrassed because of what that freaking nasty ass the Deep did to her. He shares a story at this point of a girl with her, A girl who was constantly busting her behind on the ice. She was trying to ice skate, trying to learn, and she, I mean, over and over again was falling, busting her behind. And she would say to him, just because you fall on your ass doesn't mean you have to stay there. And he gives her this advice, basically. Okay, so it's screwed up. It's messed up. You didn't think you are who you were. Get up and keep moving. And at this point, Annie introduces herself to him, and he introduces himself to her. And from there, we see Starlight. She got the strength that she needed, and she ends up going to basically her first day with the 7 at their meeting. And so she shows up there with all of the 7 present in that layer, you know, that she was originally in. And the Deep says to her, we were beginning to wonder, with all the pressure, it's a lot to swallow, basically. This sign motherfucker right here, it's a lot to swallow because of the blowjob. Okay, and he says, don't worry. Oh, she says to him, don't worry, I'm fine. And she's like, I'm here. She looks him dead in the face and lets him know, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. All right, and she flashes her electric eyes at him one good time. No one else is seeing this, but she's reminding him exactly who she is and what she's capable of. Then we see Huey shows up at the Vought, basically the 7 building for the deal. And when he meets with A-Train, he sees him like he's coming in. He does his whole apology thing, but as A-Train's coming in his mind, A-Train is still covered in Robin's blood, like he saw him last time. And he's freaking out, and it's like he's starting to have another panic attack. But it's like he pulls it all together all at the last minute, and he accepts A-Train's apology and shakes his hand, and he slips. Let me see. He pulled himself, like I said, out of that panic attack. And it's like you can see his confidence shift. He's getting stronger. All right. He goes to the bathroom stall to plant the bug. He's pulling it out of his phone to try to figure out where he's going to put it at. And all of a sudden, he hears someone come in, and he drops the bug outside of the stall, in front of the stall, okay? And the person who was entered is Annie. She'd finished with her meeting with the 7, and she's, you know, just helping herself, you know, doing her girly thing in the mirror. And she's only there a moment, and then she leaves. And then you see him from the stall reach out and pick the bug up. And, you know, he walks out of the bathroom. Then we see Invisibility show himself in the bathroom after Huey has walked off. And he's like, what the fuck? Because he saw the bug. Okay? This man in the bathroom. Okay, then we see Huey tears up... in front of Butcher, he tears up that $45,000 check that he was given, and Butcher says that he's a good man for it, basically, because he doesn't want that dirty money, even though he made the deal. He did plant the bug there at the office, by the way. Then we see Madeline calls the Baltimore mayor, and she brings the price down to $230 million for the Nubian prince, basically. And she still denies the compound V, basically, but she wants his discretion in this, and he agrees. And then we see Huey is at work, and they're about to close, and his boss leaves. And then he hears someone enter and says, we're about to close. And he sees no one, basically, but he's like, I could have sworn I just heard that bell ring, you know, someone walk in the door. And then all of a sudden there's a voice that scares the hell out of him, basically, and it says, who are you? And he stands up, and he's scared, like, what the fuck, who is that? And then the bug that he had planted at the Vought building, basically, shows up on the counter right in front of him and is pressed towards him by nothing. All right, and he's totally freaked out by this. And Invisibility is telling him, you didn't think we'd find this thing? And he grabs the badge around the neck of Huey, and he reads his name. And he slams his head at this point into the glass that's in front of him. Mind you, all this, you still can't see Invisibility. So he's taken an invisible ass beating, okay? So then he rips him over the counter, and he continues to beat him up, damaging the store immensely. And he's asking, who was the guy that you were with earlier? And he's telling him, it was a Lyft guy. And he's about to throw, Invisibility has gone and picked up this huge flat screen TV, and he's about to throw it at Huey, who's already beat up on the floor. And at this point, you see Butcher drive his car through the front of the store, basically, and he knocked invisibility into the wall. And you just see the imprint, basically, of the invisible person hitting the wall. And at that point, Butcher gets out of the car, and he's like, Huey, get out of here. And Huey goes to leave. And so he goes over to where he saw the invisible body fall at, and he starts beating the crap, basically. It's a good fight that ensues here in between Butcher and the Soup, and that he can't see, but he's doing a pretty decent job. And then all of a sudden he starts getting his ass handed to him until he realizes that he got a little blood on invisibility, and he starts throwing more blood over to him, basically. And I can see you, basically. If I put my blood on you, I can see you to whoop your ass. So that's what he's doing here. And the tables then turn again, and he starts getting beat up. And then Huey decides he's not going to be a wuss. He comes back, and he decides to stay and help. And invisibility is about to go to town, basically, with a crowbar on Butcher. All you see is this invisible little blood-covered person with a crowbar, and he's about to get him real good. And then Huey sees an exposed electric cord from the wall from where invisibility had ripped that flat screen TV he was about to throw on him. And he goes to, hit him with it, basically, to shock him with it. But he's not close enough to him. And Butcher sees what he's trying to do, and from there lying on the ground, he kicks invisibility back towards Huey, who then electrocutes him, and he goes up in flames. And it's funny because you can sort of see like the outline of his body with the electricity running, and he's electrocuting his ass, literally. And let me see. From there, Butcher's like, how did you know that that would do the job, basically, the electricity? And that's when Huey tells him that his skin is carbon, and it's highly conductive, basically. And I saw it on Jimmy Fallon. All right, then we see Butcher wants to put the dead guy in invisibility into the trunk, and he says that we're in big trouble, basically. And he was like, you're a federal agent, call them. And here is where Butcher admits, basically, that he's not a Fed. And Huey's freaking out like, what? Who the fuck are you? And then from here, we see the mayor. He's on a flight back to Baltimore, and he's on a private flight, and his son's sitting next to him. And his son looks maybe 10 years old. Anyway, as they're flying, his son looks out the window and sees that the bootleg Captain America flying next to the plane. And he's like, Dad, look. And he's like, what is he doing here? Isn't that your friend? And at this point, you see his eyes light up bright red. And the mayor's like, oh, shit. And he gets up. And at this point, the guy's eyes have laser cut through the plane and send it down, killing everyone inside, basically. Bootleg Captain America, evil as hell, okay? And let me see. Homelander, that's the guy, the bootleg Captain America. Sends them to their death, basically. And that's the end of episode 1, you guys. I really hope you like this. I hope you watch the show, because I'm going to. All right, let me know what you think. Please leave some comments below and like my videos. If you like my videos, become a subscriber, okay? Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.